Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're here in beautiful New York City. It's been a pretty jam-packed week. We're at NRF, just a few blocks away from the Javits Center. So I was lucky enough to convince these three gentlemen to step away from the trade show floor and sit down with me here. And we're going to talk about e-commerce a little bit, but specifically B2B e-commerce. We also have a very exciting announcement that we're going to be making here today for the very first time. So we'll jump right into it. But my name's Ryan Blums. I'm fortunate enough to be the Director of Partnerships at Codal. I got this question a lot over the holidays of what does that mean exactly from all of my family. And I just kind of responded, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Today, I get to be in the same room as these three great leaders. I'm excited to kind of learn from them a little bit here today. So I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. But since Dan, we're in your hometown,
okay.
I'll start with you.
I like the fact that you still refer to it as my hometown. I'm a native New Yorker, but haven't been living here for about 6 years, ever since the day I started at BigCommerce. So Dan Furtick, VP of Agency Partnerships for BigCommerce. I have been with the company for about 6 years. What that role means is I and my team help manage an ecosystem of great implementers, design, creative, and development agencies who are hands-on keyboard doing the great work of implementing BigCommerce sites.
Awesome. And Bar, since this is now your hometown, we'll go to you next.
Yes. So I'm Bao. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Balance. Balance is a B2B payment platform focused on e-commerce. What makes payments in e-commerce, in B2B, unique is that the financing component, the ability to give payment terms for your customers, the ability to pay with alternative payment methods like wires and checks and ACH, getting an invoice in the moment of checkout. We facilitate all of that in a consumer-grade approach. What's exciting for me right now is that what we're doing here is quite unique in BigCommerce. I just moved to Williamsburg, New York. So I'm very excited to be here. The company is based in Israel and in New York. Just excited to be here.
That's awesome. How are you liking New York so far?
I like it. It's different. Williamsburg is different from Manhattan. Everything is different here. But I like it. I like the vibe. I like the energy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I saved the best for last, not just because he's my boss, but Keval, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, Keval Baxi, the CEO of Codal. Codal's a digital agency really focused on e-commerce. Over the last couple of years, after winning the Partner of the Year at BigCommerce, really doubled down, kind of looking at different merchants, bringing them on board, merchants that haven't really considered even the e-commerce realm as a channel or B2B as a channel, and just seen it grow. I know BigCommerce had a huge year with a lot of B2B merchants kind of coming on board, and I think it's just going to continue. The payment side makes it all one more step easier than waiting to kind of customize the whole entire integration and launch it.
I was counting. I've heard B2B 6-7 times since we started here. So I'm sure a lot of the people listening are B2B customers wondering if e-commerce is right for them or how do we start this e-commerce journey. So Dan, I got a question for you, just on how they can maybe improve their online experience. I know the Forrester Wave, named BigCommerce a strong performer in B2B. Can you tell us a little bit about just B2B, terms of BigCommerce, why you guys are investing so heavily into it, and I guess what the future of B2B e-commerce kind of looks like?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've been in e-commerce for over 10 years, and our research says that 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, less than a quarter of B2B businesses, so those businesses that sell to distributors, sell to wholesalers, et cetera, were selling anything online.
Wow.
Traditional sales were done door-to-door, field sales reps, right?
Yeah.
By the end of 2023, nearly 2/3 of businesses will be doing some form of online sales and online transactions. And so it's been a revolutionary last decade in how these businesses sell to other businesses. I think what has opened our eyes to it is really two things. So BigCommerce historically has taken a very open approach to how we like to work with both partners and allow our merchants to use the software. And we focus, a lot of the evolution, a lot of the value that you provide is the actual buyer experience. But what not everybody thinks about, and what I think the app that's been built will enable us to do more of, is think about the seller experience, right? So everyone says today's B2B buyer is a 30-year-old millennial and doesn't want to have to fax orders. But people neglect to realize that today's average B2B seller is a 30-year-old millennial, and they don't want to have to log into an ERP and ask IT to help run a promotion and facilitate transactions. And so like the app that's been built will actually take BigCommerce even further in that regard. One-click install, easy configuration. So we're very maniacally focused on the usability of our platform. Traditional e-commerce for B2B, software vendors that serve that market aren't focused on the usability of the platform. So we've taken our functionality and invested heavily in making it actually something people don't mind logging into to use as a software product.
No, that's super helpful. I love some of those comments and these guys just laughing in the background because I think we've seen that. I know at Codal, we've definitely done a lot of these B2B digital transformations. Had merchants that have sales reps out on the streets, still bringing donuts into their customers and taking their orders on a clipboard kind of thing. So, Keval, for you, what are some of those like common hurdles that our team sees when we are kind of doing a digital transformation like that, whether that's ERP or just the user experience, seller experience? Just speak to that a little bit.
So kind of both pre-Balance, pre-BigCommerce, the traditional path was you build out a custom portal, you integrate, from 8 to 10 different tools, payments, ERP, order management, fax order receiving, EDI. You have this set of large number of kind of third-party tools that you need to operate. By the time you finish that project, it's 18 months, 24 months, it's already kind of outdated. As Dan said, kind of the user experience. At Codal, what we've been really looking at is user experience for every user. So you have your buyer, your seller, your report viewer, accounting. If we can make everyone's life a little bit easier, it really kind of full circles the product. Kind of enter in BigCommerce and now Balance, the time to market substantially quicker. We've been working with some enterprise firms that maybe came to us thinking that it would take 18 months, 24 months to build out a product and go live for their sales force. We're coming in with 6 weeks, 10 weeks to say, look, here's the e-com launch and here's payments and you can still take your customers with ACH, with Wire, and they're almost not able to keep up on the business training side as quick as the technology is ready to go.
So yeah, Bar, we've heard kind of a little bit from the platform side, right? And the agency, what we're seeing with merchants, I think that's a nice segue to kind of tell us a little bit about Balance. Like, how did it get started? Where are you going? And I think we've got an announcement to make as well.
Yeah. So Balance is about moving trade online, helping the next evolution of our economy, which is B2B. Really, everything is B2B. And what we found out, I'm a fintech veteran. I worked at PayPal and other fintech companies, and the inefficiency of the B2C approach in a B2B context was something that I got fascinated from. And to see that we invested so much in the discovery and the digital transformation experience of having a self-serve, like, a front end to the ERP, really not needing to talk to anyone to see products availability, and having that side really, really done well. And then when you go to the payment side, when you think about e-commerce, we think about discovery and trade. Find the products that you want to purchase and exchange money for goods. So the trade side, they just went back to the offline and still did all the process of like, okay, the buyer onboarding manual, going through the qualification for getting terms, because you can't move from your existing vendor to a new one without getting the terms you need and the payment preferences you need. So everything was slick, and then it got stuck for between 7 and 14 days. So the idea of solving that was our North Star. And Balance exists for several years now. And we were lucky enough to find the right partner that is really doubling down on the use case of B2B. And now, and really this is the announcement, after raising almost $100 million and $350 million in that facility, all of it is going to be dedicated to support the BigCommerce experience in really self-serving B2B transactions online. And that's a massive force to bring in like what we know from the B2C space, the buy now, pay later experience inside of a payment experience that together can really digitize the payment. And for us, just the thought, why are we doing this? Right? What is the thing that will, which needle are we trying to move? And I think the next phase of B2B e-commerce, more than anything else, is growth. Simplicity, usability, having a self-serve payment experience. I feel like if we do our job right, we can help the economy grow and enabling merchants to really grow online. Because if you can't enable them to move from their existing vendor, those buyers, right? You just can't grow. You're stuck. And they are the millennials. Yeah. They want that experience. And we see it, we support dozens of marketplaces. This is how we started. Marketplace in 38 different verticals: chemicals, lumber, steel, textile, you name it. And the idea of just finding products, doing quick onboarding, a quick payment, and get those commoditized goods is happening. Yeah. And I think BigCommerce will be the first platform to, it's not a future statement there, it's already there, to enable a SaaS solution for e-commerce that can support the payment side all the way to support the simple use case that we know from B2C of someone that doesn't know the merchant going in to buy anything wholesale, distribute, whatever it may be, in every vertical, and just purchase.
Yeah. This excites me a great deal. So I'm getting energized hearing you talk about it. I would say, so today, historically, BigCommerce has evolved in serving B2B customers. More than a third, nearly 40% at this point of our enterprise customers, of which there are nearly 7,000, are doing B2B with BigCommerce at this point. And I've been there 6.5 years. I could not have said that 6+ years ago. And we've been able to win in that space because we've been focused on the end customer experience and the user experience, the marketer experience. But a lot of that innovation has been about getting to checkout, right? The ability to cross-sell products, rep masquerading, hierarchies and approvals, login for pricing, quick reorder. A lot of that is like user interface or personalization, True. Right? Facilitating to get to the point of transaction. There has been historically very little innovation, when I say historically, relative to B2C in checkout and for B2B. Okay? I think there has been a lot of innovation in checkout for B2C. And a lot of it started with the patents for Amazon's one-click checkout expiring. Yeah. And you saw massive innovation start to grow in that space. Turns out patents are very protective to the big companies and small.
It's Amazon.
Right, so we're talking about all of a sudden buy now, pay later became more popular. All of a sudden, one-click checkout, stored card, subscription, recurring billing, exploded in innovation in the checkout. I think that's really like the last 6-7 years. That wasn't happening on the B2B side until now. And I think the ability to take what BigCommerce has invested in the user experience, the merchandising experience for B2B, and get that to a point where we're just facilitating optimal transactions. The system knows who you are. We're reducing any friction in that purchase, getting money into the hands of merchants faster so that they can grow their business. I think the power of the two, that user experience innovation with the checkout innovation finally in B2B, and the great work these folks have been doing, it excites me about what we'll be able to do together to grow and help grow our joint customers.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's super exciting stuff. I know Codal, I mean, being a partner with both of you guys, we got big plans in the new year. Some go-to-market kind of strategies with B2B edition and the new Balance Gateway and integration with BigCommerce. So it was interesting, Bar, like hearing you talk about your time at PayPal.
Yeah.
Brent Baum, the CEO of BigCommerce, also was a integral part of PayPal Europe and kind of expanding throughout that. And I know I've heard him speak a lot about payments and just the importance of localized payments for international shoppers. So I guess this is just a question for anybody, but is there any correlation to localized payments for just direct-to-consumer shoppers, to any correlation to B2B, just payments in general?
I think it's interesting that you're referring to PayPal. Our mission is very aligned with what I grew on in PayPal, which is, at the end, I don't know if you remember, PayPal is, in the 12th iteration as a company, but in the heart of PayPal is trust. Can you facilitate trust with new websites, right? When we started, it wasn't easy to put your credit card information. Like, it's the same problem we have right now in B2B.
Yeah.
In the heart of it, it's not the same, but it's similar. It's hard to facilitate trust in B2B because culturally, it's all about relationships. How do you break that paradigm? In PayPal, it was a company that came to the world and say, we will be your trust facilitator. You can trust us. If this merchant is working with us, you're good. And in Balance, the idea of facilitating trust, we're taking it in a different angle, because the hardest thing for a merchant when he thinks about his payment experience is that he wants to give buyers what they need. But the problem is that now as a merchant, you need to facilitate different times of payment. It's not in the point of sale. Credit cards, easy, done, like we know from the B2C space. So you have transactions, and then some paying in 15-day payment terms, some in 30, some in 45. Depends on the size and how much power this buyer have. And then you have the payment channel. So you can get check in the mail, because this is how they do business. This is how they do business.
Yeah.
They will not change for a new merchant. Again, depends on the power dynamics. But so you get wires from his Chase account, sending wires. You get checks. Some will want to pay with a credit card because it's like a small transaction for them, not the ones buying supply. And like direct debit. And then you have like 4 payment channels at least, and different times in the month that you're getting paid, which is not correlated with the moment of transaction. So as a merchant, you're all excited. You're going on BigCommerce. You're looking at the future and say, oh my God, I'm going to make e-commerce work for me. I'm going to grow my business. But then you understand that you need a team of like 10, 20 people just to get started with managing all this shit show. So for me, Balance is about the simplicity and the trust element of saying, you don't need to care about, you as a buyer, you don't need to care about the preferences of a merchant, how he wants to get paid, what is payment terms that he needs. The merchant is getting paid instantly and easily, fully reconciled, like it was a credit card all the time,
Yeah.
scalable to infinity. And the buyer is getting all the flexibility he knows from the offline space with his existing vendors. You get what you need. We don't want to disrupt. Disrupt is a very tech word that we use. Every company wants to disrupt, not balance. Balance is not here to disrupt. Balance is here to facilitate, to help, to enable. So all we do is we think about there's a term like job to be done. We're thinking about what is the job that the person that is coming to purchase needs us to do. We don't want to educate him. We want to help him. And with supply chain problems, I don't know if we're going to get into that area. Just like as a tagline, it's really hard to stay with your existing vendors today. I think the biggest innovation of e-commerce is really to enable someone that can get his supply because, I don't know, the world, right? Things happen. It's not easy to get supply from the same places that we used to get them from. I'm not talking about China-US relationships, Europe, with all the complexities we have there. So the power of BigCommerce, really, the power of Codal, the power of balance together, is really to enable someone that can run his business to rely on his existing vendors he had relationships with in the last 20 years, now having options, optimizing for cost and availability. What an amazing thing we have in B2C that just doesn't exist in B2B, right?
Yeah.
Just not talking about the reduction of cost for the economy as a whole, for that efficiency to happen.
I love the notion of bringing that trust, right? If you think about B2C transactions, a lot of it comes to trust with the brand. I know this brand, or I trust the payment provider that will take care of me and has vetted this merchant. In the B2B world, it has been, I know her. I've been working with her for 3 years and buying from her for 3 years. We've shaken hands, and I trust that she'll do what she says she's going to do. The product will be in my hands when they say it'll be in my hands, and we've negotiated pricing. What this enables us to do is to bring that handshake into an online buying experience that basically facilitates that level of trust in the transactions. I log in, they know exactly how I prefer to pay as a buyer. They know exactly what my credit limits might be, right? What catalog is exposed to me and what I might want to reorder. That level of trust. It's not how we typically think about the buzzy word of personalization, but it is bringing that personal experience into an online buying trusted transaction. And that's really what that's about.
Yeah. No, we see it from an experience, just having the integration sit right inside BigCommerce, it saves a lot of steps.
Yeah.
The buyer doesn't need to call their account rep and say, what's my credit balance? And then figure out if they can make that next purchase. Or sometimes sites will have, you can make the purchase, but then you get an invoice after 10 or 12 days when the accounting department gets to it. Until then, your order isn't shipped. This is kind of a holistic environment where you see payments cleared, here's my balance, here's the next payment date I have, here's the order experience, there's automatic reorders, all sorts of kind of things that just come together. So I think there's a definite kind of movement towards let's solidify user experience for every single person involved and make it easier.
Yeah, and it's a credit to the integration that you built. So I've been with the company a while now, and I've worked with a number of our technology partners as well. And anytime they're interested in, getting exposure to BigCommerce clients or other SIs, I ask the same two questions to every single one. The first is 1 to 10, how would you rate the integration? How well it works, the functionality as intended. Number 2, if you ran your own business, would you be using it for your own business? And if it's not like a 9 or a 10 and a yes, then it's not something I'm interested in putting into the hands of BigCommerce customers. And I think the integration that you guys have built is impressive. And I'm really excited about what it can do for clients.
Simplicity is another word that I picked up on there. And, in some of our beta testing, Keval, I know Codal got to kind of do some beta testing with some merchants. Can you speak to just kind of the simplicity, ease of use for system integrators, but also for the merchants themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. We had, during the process of building it, we kind of segmented it into different functions balance offers, right? You can just enable credit cards, or you can enable multi-language, or you can enable wires. So throughout that journey, we kind of reached out to our larger B2B customers that are already using BigCommerce for various use cases and did a couple alpha runs. We wanted to make sure the user experience the balance team provided was already excellent in terms of implementation, but how that overlays with BC. Right, the BigCommerce, people are kind of used to a certain payment setup. We don't want to get them to check out and then send them to a new link. Kind of creates a disturbance in their understanding of what they're doing. So we put this on a pharmaceutical site. They sell wholesale kind of OTC drugs to firehouses and all sorts of kind of community hospitals, et cetera. They currently operate in the process of you send a purchase order in, someone enters it into their ERP, and then they go do kind of a check to see if they have credit, if they're privately owned, public owned. That whole process is about 21 days. Meanwhile, the inventory is still sitting in the warehouse. They're not moving as quick. First step was kind of integrating BigCommerce. We got them all sales, supplier, order accounts. They had an approval journey. That cut that 21 days down to 2 or 3 days. And eventually automated. I think they're just kind of getting over the fact they don't need to look at everything. There's rules and it works. And then adding in balance eliminated their checks, their wire transfers, their initiations. Doing kind of governmental work is difficult. You have to go look at which grants are going to pay you and what that process is, and a lot of manual work. They can kind of focus on that, obtaining the capital, while the order life cycle is pretty automated. So
very gutsy to beta test it on one of the more complex B2B use cases.
Yeah. I have to say, like, that's true professionalism.
Yeah.
Like putting the customer at the front in every angle possible. Like
exactly.
Like having them as your community to make sure you can serve others well. It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
Our goal really was to just see if, of course, it'll work for a standard use case. One product, one purchase, one customer. But when you add in a mix of kind of workflow approvals and financing from different entities, how does that work? And we learned a little bit from that test, better UX experience for certain user types, more reporting for another user. But yeah, overall, I think it made the product even more stronger to integrate. I think kind of continually iterating with these tests will make us all kind of a little bit stronger to deliver for merchants.
Yeah, great stress test.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is great. I mean, the excitement just this week around NRF and this conversation, I think 2023 is going to be a pretty incredible year, a lot of growth opportunities. I don't know, Bar, is there anything else you'd want to add, how anybody listening to this can get a hold of your guys' team, schedule a demo, anything like that you'd like to add?
I think the first thing I would say is that it's extremely easy. The value is big, so it can be like a bit, am I ready for this? And my answer is that yes, you are. It doesn't matter your size. You should have something that speaks the B2B language. And there is no reason today, after we did this amazing integration that we were just referring to, there is no reason to compromise. And the competitive landscape that you have as a merchant also knows that fact. And offering something that is good and simple and works it's not a nice to have anymore in B2B. When you think about B2B, you can think, oh, it's not that important. In B2C, it's obvious, like the experience. In B2B, it becomes obvious as well. So what this amazing team did was to make it amazingly easy for every merchant on BigCommerce to now offer payment terms and offer that payment flexibility and just getting paid instantly and easily and not taking all that payment terms hustle and liability on your balance sheet. So it's just a win-win-win-win-win-win-win. Easy. I would not say a toggle on, but it's not that far away from it. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. I mean, we're early on in 2023. I think anyone who tells you they know what's going to happen this year is lying through their teeth. So it's an uncertain year. I think what's not uncertain is that buyers, B2B buyers especially, are increasingly looking to transact online, transact easily, and expect an experience that is more B2C-like, right? And there is never a bad time to be thinking about improving, streamlining the buying process, getting cash in hand, and reducing total cost of ownership. And so whether that means you're ready to do it today or you want to evaluate it for tomorrow, there is no harm in understanding the value proposition, what this means, and comparing it to what is my existing customer's experience? What is my existing team's experience operating on behalf of our customers? Yeah. And assessing whether, again, it makes sense for you today or tomorrow, how you match up to what the industry leaders are doing.
Excellent.
Yeah, and from the agency lens, what we are releasing this year is kind of a accelerator model, where we have a 8 to 10 week accelerator for B2B brands. There's a nice built BigCommerce experience from the front end. We have Balance integrated for payments. We have a couple other kind of solutions so they can integrate with their most popular ERPs or inventory systems. And it allows them to launch a beta site. So that way they can get to market 6 to 10 weeks, see how it works, and then let's take it and expand it further. So that's kind of our go-to, especially for the B2B merchants that are kind of apprehensive of, do I want to do this, or is this a right fit? It's, look, you have a very small investment of time and capital to say, let's put it out there and test it. And if it works, let's scale, right? And I can see a success rate being pretty high on most merchants.
And also, just one last sentence, I think, when you think about e-commerce, there's two things you're thinking about, right? One, how do I improve my operations today? How do I reduce the cost of doing business? This is my existing book of business. But let's not forget, which is not easy to remember, to be honest, in B2B, is that you can always also grow. And to grow in this year, it's a huge opportunity. Customers are looking for alternatives, and they will find you online. And if you're available and you have the simplicity to do transactions, you're valid. You're an option. And if not, no one will spend 21 days moving from one vendor to the next. They will stay with what they have. They have enough things on their plate already. So just improve your operational efficiency, great. But remember that you can grow. That's it.
Great way to end.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll be posting the links in the video description, but really appreciate Codal, BigCommerce, Balance for sitting down and chatting.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you so much.